In 1998, King's Dominion in Doswell, Virginia introduced a revolutionary inverted launch coaster to the park. Despite being a huge fan favorite and an amazing accomplishment on its own, the park demolished it in 2018. In this video we will try to process such a loss to the amusement park world and get into the coaster's history. To get the full context of this coaster's history, we have to go back to the late 1960s all the way to Cincinnati, Ohio. Why is this? The Taft Broadcasting Company, an Ohio-based media company, purchased the rights to an animation studio known as Hanna-Barbera in 1966, which happened to be known for producing some of the most famous and iconic cartoon shows of all time. Yogi Bear and Scooby-Doo to name a few. Again, you may be wondering why this is important, and trust me, I will get there. In order to make use of this new intellectual property, Taft took a page out of Disney's book and bought some land northeast of Cincinnati. Having seen Disney's success in 1971 with Magic Kingdom, Taft was looking to take advantage of a massive opportunity. With this newly acquired land, Taft built a theme park of their own in the name of Kings Island. Kings Island included many themed sections such as Rivertown, Oktoberfest, and of course, the Happy Land of Hanna-Barbera. This idea was such a great success for the company that they decided to do it again in North Carolina in the form of King's Dominion. Following the success of Kings Island, Taft set out to expand into a new region of the country, settling on a 400-acre site in Doswell, Virginia, just north of Richmond. When King's Dominion opened in 1975, the park was very similar to its sister park in Ohio, including an Eiffel Tower replica, the Happy Land of Hanna-Barbera section, and a Coney Island section. What stood out as different was the temporary addition of a full-fledged safari experience in the park known as the Lion Country Safari.
Wait till you see my world at King's Dominion, Lion Country Safari. Hop on our monorail and capture hundreds of wild animals. And this year, capture the wildest of all, rare Bengal tigers. Catch the big ones and the silly ones, plus our new Kilimanjaro bobsled ride. It's all just one of the 5 big worlds at King's Dominion on I-95 north of Richmond.
5 big worlds of fantasy, all rolled into one. King's Dominion.
You're gonna love it.
The Lion Country Safari had actually opened before the rest of King's Dominion. It was used in 1974 as a preview attraction, allowing guests to drive their own personal vehicles on a route through actual zoological exhibits stocked with big cats, elephants, lions, rhinos, antelopes, and giraffes. When King's Dominion officially opened in 1975, the roadway was replaced with a ride. Now, guests would begin their journey in the Lion Country Safari Land, a thatch-roofed adventurers outpost recalling African encampments, and board a monorail. Finally, in 1979, King's Dominion debuted The Lost World, which included a 170-foot-tall man-made volcano. Within this section of the park, there were 3 rides. The 3 rides were Voyage to Atlantis, a log flume ride, The Land of Doos, a dark ride, and Time Shaft, which was a chance rotor flat ride. Voyage to Atlantis was renamed and rethemed to the Haunted River in 1980, and in 1984, The Land of Doos was recrafted as Smurf Mountain, to go along with the Hanna-Barbera intellectual property. Unfortunately for Smurf Mountain, after 10 years it was permanently closed. Fast forward to 1989 and Disney has just unveiled MGM Studios, which was quickly followed up by Universal Studios Florida in Orlando. This period of time shall be remembered as the age of studio parks. Every movie studio wanted it, including Paramount Pictures. Paramount Parks bought King's Dominion in 1993, and with new ownership came new attractions and a new vision of the park. The park had built a motion simulator based on Days of Thunder, a movie starring Tom Cruise, and even built a Wayne's World-themed section of the park. Out with the old, in with the new was Paramount's motto, as they were planning to get rid of the beloved Hanna-Barbera section of the park and replaced it with their own Nickelodeon section. With the theme of removing old rides, the park decided to get rid of the haunted river and time shaft, and the glorious man-made mountain was sealed off.
Remember years ago when you were afraid, frightened, terrified of the dark? Welcome back. Prepare yourself for the Outer Limits Flight of Fear, the scariest, darkest, most twisted roller coaster ever. Face your fears, only at Paramount's Kings Island.
In 1996, Paramount's King's Dominion debuted a brand new launch roller coaster that would feature a linear induction motor launch to power the ride. Remember that for a little later. The park had partnered with Premier Rides, and the coaster was themed to an anthology TV series called The Outer Limits, making it officially called The Outer Limits: Flight of Fear. As stated earlier, Flight of Fear introduced a revolutionary technology to the coaster world in the linear induction motor, or LIM launch. Rather than using contact forces like counterweights or tires, LIMs use electromagnetism. On LIM coasters, each train is equipped with a metal fin, perfectly positioned to pass through a narrow slot on electric motors positioned down a stretch of track. When supplied with power, those motors generate electromagnetic fields, attracting and then repelling out the fins on the train, producing a continuous acceleration with no contact, and thus, no friction, involved. Finally, in 1997, King's Dominion started to develop plans for yet another LIM launch coaster. This time it would be inverted. As the story goes, Paramount Creative had drafted out an ambitious attraction wherein guests would plunge through the mountain's interior in a concealed roller coaster. This was not the final concept for the ride, but the theme of blasting through a volcano stuck. On July 22, 1997, Paramount Parks announced that the Lost World would live again, but with an entirely new inhabitant. Volcano, the Blast Coaster, would be the world's first inverted LIM coaster. In order to begin construction, several holes had to be sliced into the mountain to begin the process of gutting the interior. The two attractions remaining inside, Haunted River and Time Shaft, were completely removed, along with the remains of Smurf Mountain that had been unused for several years. Some of the biggest challenges included the installation of the coaster's climax. This was a 155-foot tall rollout inversion where the track exits the structure and the mountain's peak itself, which had to be modified into a wide opening that resembled a volcano. From the very beginning, technical difficulties plagued Volcano. The elaborate prototype ride that was meant to be the centerpiece of the 1998 season didn't open as expected in April, or May, or June, or July. Allegedly, the ride had a major frustration. It couldn't reliably crest the ride's signature element, an upside-down rollout of the volcano, the world's highest inversion at 155 feet. Without enough speed to complete the maneuver, the tested train continuously rolled back. While ride manufacturer Taman sought a permanent solution, the ride officially opened August 15, 1998 with a temporary fix. Volcano operated at half capacity, seating guests in every other row to lessen the train's weight. The eventual solution installed in the 1998-1999 off-season actually became one of the ride's signatures. A second set of LIM motors was positioned leading into the ride's vertical ascent, giving the train the last burst it needed to erupt from the mountain at full speed, clearing the rollout with ease. In addition to being the first of its kind to use an LIM launch system, Volcano opened as the fastest inverted roller coaster in the world, reaching a maximum speed of 70 miles an hour. Volcano's layout simulated the path of a volcanic eruption. Upon boarding one of 3 trains at the base of the mountain, riders made a slow turn left out of the station. The train then moved into its first of 2 launch tracks, which accelerated the train to 70 miles per hour. After a massive turn behind the mountain, The second launch allows the train to race vertically up through the mountain, past fog and flamethrowers, and bursts out of the peak, flipping riders onto their heads as the train rolls out from the maneuver. This high-speed explosion has literally seen us erupt from the volcano, heels overhead. It's the world's tallest inversion, 155 feet over the park. After the eruption, the coaster makes its way through a series of turns and takes the riders down and around the mountain, simulating lava flow. This eventually leads to the coaster's iconic Heartline rolls. Unlike an inline twist where the train is flung around a twisting track, in a Heartline roll, the track twists around the train. By design, if you were to draw a line in space from the position of your heart while passing through this maneuver, the line would stay at the same level. It's a graceful, powerful, but comfortable inversion that mimics the fluid flow of lava. As it was a prototype, the coaster came with some difficulties. These included the common rollbacks during the second launch and limited seating capacity, which, due to the popularity of the ride, made the line's wait time increase. The ride was a fan favorite and had a great impact on the park's reputation. Unfortunately, on June 23, 2006, the roller coaster experienced a launch failure when a train carrying 15 passengers stalled and rolled back slightly. Some were stranded for more than 2 hours. One rider reported hearing a loud pop and getting hit in the chin with flying debris. 6 days after the incident, Cedar Fair acquired Paramount Parks, and the more themed inspiration for building parks turned into a more thrill-centered approach. Unfortunately, just a few weeks into the 2018 season, Volcano experienced technical difficulties and would remain closed for the rest of the year. On February 8, 2019, King's Dominion spokesperson Maggie Sellers announced, after thorough evaluation, the decision has been made to remove Volcano, the Blast Coaster. This wasn't an easy decision for us, because we know that people love this one-of-a-kind coaster. However, over time it became nearly impossible to keep the ride up to our high standards of reliability and guest satisfaction, and for these reasons we had to make the tough call. In other words, Volcano had unknowingly given its last rides in spring 2018 a full year earlier. The ride would never reopen. In May 2019, both Volcano and the mountain it resided in were demolished. That winter, it was announced that the crypt would also be retired, emptying out a large portion of the park's nostalgically renamed Safari Village for future development. We must not let this classic one-of-a-kind coaster be forgotten. The ride will forever be ingrained in the memory of those who were able to ride it. Volcano, you are dearly missed. Thank you for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it and tune in for the next episode of Coaster Archives. Leave suggestions on what coaster we should look into next. See you again very soon.